Greetings, everyone, and a warm welcome to yet another remarkable evening with the Coalition. We, the members of the FMU African American Faculty and Staff Coalition, extend our heartfelt gratitude for your presence at our 23rd Annual Scholarship Reception. Tonight, we celebrate the academic achievements and accomplishments of determined young men and women. Furthermore, we are delighted to honor an individual whose efforts have significantly enhanced the unity within the FMU community, who will be presented as the next recipient of the Coalition's Diversity Award. Thanks to both your individual and collective contributions, the Coalition has been able to award 17 individual scholarships and 1 graduate scholarship this term, totaling $25,306 for the 23-24 academic year. Yes. Now, I kindly request your attention just for a brief moment. I want to announce the names of the 11 scholarships under our care. To the esteemed honorees whose names grace these scholarships, if you are present, please stand so we may acknowledge your outstanding achievements. We have the Dr. Joseph E. Hayward Endowed Scholarship, this year awarding 11 in total. We have the Dr. Dorothy M. Harris Graduate Student Scholarship, 1 awarded. Ms. Rebecca S. Lund, in her memory, 2 have been awarded. Dr. Leroy P. Peterson, Endowed Scholarship, 1 has been awarded. Ms. Yvonne G. Davis, Community Service, Endowed Scholarship. The Dr. Alfreda Campbell Wilson Endowed Scholarship is awarded for the first time. In her memory, and with us this evening, her husband, Dr. Johnny Wilson, and Jamia Wilson. Will you stand also? Thank you. We also have on our care the Linda M. Sullen Endowed Scholarship. Ms. Sullen. Mr. Carlton Sellers Endowed Scholarship. I know I saw him somewhere. Thank you, sir. Bishop Donald L. Jackson, the Young, Gifted, and Blessed, 2 scholarships were awarded this year. Mrs. Yvette H. Pierce, Graduate Fellowship, which also has been awarded for the first time this year. And of course, yours truly, the Stephen C. Sims Endowed Scholarship. Thank you all. So, as we pause to celebrate this moment together, let us remain mindful that we are all on this journey together. And it is through our collective efforts that we can overcome any challenge. Together, we can achieve the remarkable. A slight modification to your program, I will now call on Mr. Donald Jackson for a brief word. Mr. Jackson.
Good evening to Dr. Carter and Ms. Carter, to Mayor Teresa Everin, and to each and every one of you who have guided here tonight. What I would like to do at this time is, back in October, if I'm correct, when Wilson had their homecoming, and as most of us know, there was a lot of disturbances around the city. And a young lady got shot, and she had to go to the hospital. And I heard about it, not knowing who it was. And then when I got back to work that Monday morning on campus, I was told who it was. And this young lady, she was one of our student workers as well as one of our scholarship recipients by the name of Miss Micaiah Fitz. And she was in critical condition. And my understanding is that she's here tonight. And what I would like for all of us to do, what happened was that I got together and talked with Dr. Carter, and we came together as a whole. And we met in the Honor Center, and we went in prayer for this young lady. And I believe what the words say, where two or three are gathered, I'm in the midst. And I am happy to say that that very next day, she was on the speedy recovery. And then when she came by the office to visit me, as the old saying is, you don't look like what you've been through. Truthfully, I can say she did not look like she'd been through what she's been through. And so we would like to recognize her tonight. If she could stand and if we can just give a round of applause, thanking God for that young lady. Thank you. At this time, we will have expressions of gratitude from Ms. Camille Dash.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Camille Dash, and I am currently getting my master's degree in speech-language pathology here at Francis Marion University. I was born and raised in Savannah, Georgia, and I began my collegiate career here at Francis Marion in 2012 after receiving a 4-year scholarship to play basketball. I completed my major in mass communication and received my bachelor's in 2016. I am incredibly honored and extremely grateful to be with you all this evening as the first recipient of the Dr. Frida Campbell Wilson Endowed Scholarship. Thank you for allowing me to share my gratitude at such a wonderful event. Also, I am exceedingly honored to have my mother, Betty Dash, and my aunt, Barbara Watson, with me this evening, and also some of my classmates. I, along with the other scholarship recipients, am appreciative of the FMU African American Faculty and Staff Coalition for being selected. I feel very privileged and touched to receive support in my academic endeavors. It is amazing to know that there are networks of support focused on assisting students in their educational pursuits. So many students feel hopeless at the thought of not being able to afford a college education, especially when it comes to earning a degree higher than a bachelor's. I am incredibly grateful to the Coalition for assisting me and other students here at Francis Marion. Your generosity and investment in our future is a great asset for our communities and the world. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support. I am also very appreciative of Dr. Michelle Norman, who has been one of my wonderful professors and a true mentor to me as I have navigated through the speech-language pathology program these last few years. Although I did not have the pleasure of meeting Dr. Campbell Wilson, I have heard such wonderful things about her and how she was a pioneering educator in the field of speech-language pathology, including how she founded the program at Francis Marion and laid the groundwork so that those of us pursuing this profession could have a place to become the best SLPs we can be. I want to extend my love and appreciation to her family who are in attendance with us this evening. I am inspired. There are well over 150,000 licensed speech-language pathologists in the US, but only 4% of the population identify as African Americans. I have been fortunate enough to have several of them as my professors and instructors here at Francis Marion, like Dr. Frances Burns, Dr. Michelle Norman, Dr. Afua Ejapong, Ms. Marilyn McClan Mack, Dr. Deborah Anderson, and Ms. Anna Freeman, all of whom are Black women who have made it to where I want to be and have been more than inspirational to me. I might not see myself as an educator in this field just yet, but I know that if I ever want to become one, it is possible because I have seen the model. I have been inspired to do great things well before I decided to pursue a career as an SLP, because I grew up watching my mother and my aunt have wonderful careers as nurses. So the point I'm making is that representation matters. There's no secret about all that African Americans have gone through and sadly continue to go through in this country simply because of who we are and how we look. There are so many disparities in the medical field because there are not enough of us to be able to bridge the gap between our culture and the mainstream culture. It seems as if some people don't understand the idea behind the importance of Black representation. But our ancestors, and even some here today, have paved the path so that we are able to walk in the footsteps of those who came before us. Likewise, people in my generation who are at the beginning of our journeys are doing our best to lead the way for the generations that come after us. We will break generational curses and stereotypes that lead to so many misconceptions and misunderstandings about who we are as people. So as I stand here today, during the last day of Black History Month, recognizing that it is a leap year, so we have an extra day to celebrate this year, it is not peculiar for me to be proud to be an African-American woman, soon to be speech-language pathologist in the medical field. I will do my best to continue growing and learning in this profession and to represent my family and friends, my professors, the coalition, and the late Dr. Frida Campbell Wilson. Thank you. And now we will have an introduction of speaker by Ms. Trinity Harrell.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Trinity Harrell, and I have the pleasure of introducing the speaker for tonight. A native of Florence, South Carolina, Mayor Teresa Myers Irvin is the proud daughter of the late Charlie and Isabella Myers. At an early age, they gave her the courage to follow her dreams and taught discipline is needed to achieve them. Educated in Florence District 1, she attended Carver Elementary School, Moore Middle School, and graduated from West Florence High School. After high school, she pursued her dream of becoming a nurse by earning an associate degree in nursing from Florence Darlington Technical College. She continued her education degree at Francis Marion University, graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Her alma mater bestowed her the highest distinction of an honorary Doctorate of Humanities degree for her dedication and service to the Florence community. Mayor Myers Irvin also received an honorary Doctorate of Humanities degree from Agape Institute of Theology in 2022. Currently employed at McLeod as a registered nurse, she has over 42 years of experience in the medical field and holds a specialty certification in the neonatal resuscitation program, for which she served as an instructor. In 2010, Mayor Myers Irvin was elected to serve on Florence City Council representing District 1, where she served as a councilwoman for 10 years. On November 3rd, 2020, she made history becoming the first female and African-American elected mayor of Florence, South Carolina. She led the COVID-19 recovery efforts. Mayor Myers Irvin continues to work to achieve her goals of equalizing funding for Florence's downtown and community development, expanding green city initiatives, and developing new job sources to produce business and employment opportunities. A longtime community advocate, even well before serving on Florence City Council, Mayor Myers Irvin works to bring the Florence community together through serving on various boards and organizations, including Hope Health Board of Directors, the Association of South Carolina Mayors, the Florence Center Board, Great Florence Chamber of Commerce Board, Florence Downtown Development Corporation, and a voting member of the Florence Area Transportation Study Policy Committee. She is also a Riley Mayors Design Fellow and a Fellow in Education for the School Foundation. Mayor Myers Irvin is married to her husband of over 39 years, LaVon Irvin, and together they have 3 children, Carlos Irvin, Dr. Charlie Irvin II, and Casey Irvin. She and her husband reside in Florence, South Carolina, where they have lived all their lives. Without further ado, I give you Mayor Teresa Myers Irvin.
Good evening. One thing you can find about me as a speaker, I believe in being joyful and smiling, so y'all got to get some energy in this room. Good evening. Now I want you to get a good look. I'm going to put my glasses on, and I always smile. I remember being in class and seeing my professors with those glasses on their nose, and being a young nurse, seeing the doctors with those glasses on their nose. Now I introduce the glasses. But it's an honor to be before you tonight, and I'm going to start my little timer here, because I do want to be sure that I don't go into a preaching mode and keep you too long. But also giving honor to our president, Dr. Carter, and his wife. Thank you. And also giving recognition and honor to the African American Faculty and Staff Coalition for this invitation tonight. It's a great honor to be here. I remember being a student and being at Francis Marion University. I see Ms. Yvonne shaking her head, and I think about the times when I would be there in that library as that nursing student trying to get these notes, and I never thought about the faculty who watched over me as a student there. Once I graduated and was in my career, becoming an adult, as many students you can find once you leave there and you become, my children love to say, you start adulting. You will notice the adults who supported you through when you didn't even know they was there. So as a graduate now, when I look back, especially the African American staff, who was those ones who kind of encouraged me and kind of pushed me when I didn't even realize it. But that is why your theme tonight is so important. The theme of rising together, cultivating a legacy of excellence, unity, and diversity. I think when you think about these particular words, it's important that we remember that we are individuals, but we also must acknowledge that we are a human race. We are one race, the human species. I think when we can realize that, it will make the pathway to unity much easier. We can remember that we have inherited genetic differences, which may be presented in a large group of people. But even with these inherited genetic properties, we are still individuals. But yet, as individuals, we are still a part of one race. So when we think about how we are created, we become a collective of people who tend to come together based on our cultural commonalities that we share, which identified us. And that's great to have that. But we always have to remember we have some common traits as human beings that we will always share. And I do believe that we can identify many differences. But it's more important that we can identify so many commonalities that we have as the human race. We all have the basic same needs that we're going to need to function here on this earth. That doesn't change no matter what group you're identifying with. It's commonality. And in order for us to rise together, we must also be able to work together. When we think about the theme of cultivating, when you're cultivating something, you're nurturing it, you're caring for it, you're making it grow. You want it to be better than what it is when you found it. That's a part of being able to rise together. Because when we come together, when we share our commonalities, when we share our differences, but when we share our goal of where we want to go, we start to collectively come together to bring ideals together in order to make that happen. And while we're doing that, we want the ideals that come forth and bring forth excellence. When I look at the scholars tonight, and you are a scholar, you are a part of excellence. That means that you are rising to the top. There's something special about your commitment to making things better than how you found them. There's something about you loving yourself enough to be the best you can be in order to bring about a better humanity. I believe that we are here together not for ourselves, but for each other. And not only for each other, but also for the future generations to come. I often hear it stated that you, the young people, are the future. I dare to say that we are the future. We only have today that we know of. Tomorrow is something that we're hoping for, and it would be a gift when it becomes our presence. So each and every one of us, we are our future. And I say that we are because when you look at your theme of legacy, when you look at legacy, that's something that we pass down, either from our ancestors or from a predecessor. You see, a predecessor can still be alive and passes on that knowledge and information. That is what you are as our educators. You are a part of our legacy. You are passing on wisdom and knowledge to all who come into your presence. That's the part of us rising together. I think back that if it was not for the educators in my life, and that could be my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brothers, my former educators, I dare say I don't believe I could be standing here with the boldness of saying that, yes, I'm the first African American and first female mayor of Florence. That's not something that I visualized. I often tell the story of how I got started in public service. It wasn't by choice. I was voluntold. And that's a part of that legacy of rising together. I must share the story that how my mom, she loved me enough that she did not want me to go into the military, so she encouraged me and my sister for me to become a nurse. But being that young, smart teenager, I knew that if I became a nurse, I can go into the Air Force with more ranking. But more importantly, I knew I could sway my mother's mind. But what can I say? Look at me. I didn't go to the Air Force, I'm a nurse. So who won out? Moms did. But that's a part of wisdom and knowledge. Because at the place I was in life as a young woman, my mother told me, Teresa, the military is not a place for a young lady. At that time, I didn't understand. We had family who served throughout the various branches of military. I just had a cousin who went into the Air Force. For as that young person, I did not understand my mother's concept and the wisdom that she was passing me, but I honored her enough to honor her wishes and become that nurse. My goal was to become that RN to go into the Air Force with a higher ranking. My mom's goal was for me to become a nurse and stay in Florence, South Carolina. She won. But I say that to tell the young people that in life, you're going to be molded by the individuals who are around you. That is a part of that diverse group that you want. Because when you're growing, you don't want everything to be the same. You want others who are different, so you can see different points of view. You want to also be inclusive, because you want to have people around you that can speak to you from a different prospect in life. When we think about rising together, when I enter a room with people, I literally can't so much as see myself. So I don't see the physical me. I know more of the spiritual me. When I come into a room and I'm working together with anyone, I think about I'm bringing something special to this gathering. We each do. So as we're rising together, it's important that we remember to have self-love. It's important that we learn how to assimilate, but we cannot lose ourselves in the process. When we think about the fact that unity means that we come together in a oneness, but that oneness can be one body. And if you think about the body, it's various members. You have the arms, you have the legs, you have the fingers, you have the cells. But look at us. We operate so wonderfully as one unit in one temple. As a human race, I dare to say that we are each so special. We are just like a cell in a body. When all the cells operate and do what they're supposed to do, we have a magnificent temple that we move around in. We have a wonderful mind that allows us to think and be creative. But if a few cells get out of order, it can throw the whole body into a schism. So when we work together, when we unify together, we create a oneness that can do magnificent things. So even when we're rising together, we must remember there will always be the naysayers who does not want a body to operate at its fullness. There will be always a cell that we can call a cancer cell that comes to kill, steal, and to destroy this wonderful temple that we have. But if we work together, just as our scientists are doing now, our scientists are healing diseases that we never knew we would even be facing today. But together, working together with a legacy of passing the knowledge down. So when I've done this study, and I've done all I can do, I pass it off to the next one to carry that torch, to make it even better. That's a part of a legacy, being able to pass it down. And when you do that, when you look at the people who are bringing it to you, a diverse group of people, don't count anyone out because of how their temple looked. Don't count anyone out because of what their past was, because it's not about their past, it's about our future and what we can do together when we stand united. When we stand a diverse, inclusive people, we are successful. So in these turbulent times that we're in right now as a nation, I want you to remember, we are the United States of America. We are one united body. And as long as we pull together to do what's just, to do what's right, we will be successful. We will have a legacy that will cause not only our nation, but our youth to rise. But more importantly, it's an individual act that we must do to have ourselves be able to contribute, to have all rise together. So to our African American staff and also to the faculty, to everyone in the audience tonight, thank you for coming. I'm looking here, and I look out here and I see diversity. That's so important. That means we're coming together. That means that we see that we are one human race, one goal, learning how to love each other, to create an environment of love that all can thrive, that all can feel safe. Because yes, we're either going to rise together or we're going to sink together. When a boat goes down, half will not remain above the water forever. Sooner or later, you can either repair it so it can float, or you're not, and it's going to sink. So I leave with you tonight this thought. What part are you going to do? Are you going to be a repairer? Or are you going to be a demolisher? Will you be the one who sat on the rim of the boat and say, I hope they can stop this thing from sinking? I don't know about you. I'm going to be the one there trying to repair in it everything I can. So let's rise together. Let's continue to be a team of excellence, a team that is united, a team that's cultivating a legacy that when we pass it on, people will look and say, look how diverse this is. Everyone should see themselves within our future. There should be a future that is collectively one that when everyone look, they're going to say, our forefathers and our ancestors, they were a wonderful group of people. Because look at where we're at today. And we're here today based on what our ancestors and our predecessors did. Thank you for being here tonight. And I thank you in advance for all that I know you're going to do to continue to make our world a more diverse, inclusive nation. Thank you again.
Now, I have the privilege to bestow our 2024 Together We Can Award to our mayor, Ms. Teresa Meyer Irvin. This award is for someone that has committed their life to building bridges so that we may rise together, because we got to keep that boat up, right? Yes, we do. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm pleased that we're able to be here together this evening to celebrate the many accomplishments and contributions of the coalition. One of those being the establishment of the African American Faculty Staff Coalition Diversity Award. The Diversity Award was established in February 2009 to honor a permanent full-time employee of Francis Marion University who works diligently to promote ethnic understanding and diversity across the FMU campus. The award recognizes the faculty and staff members' commitment to diversity at the university and the community at large. This award, which carries a beautiful plaque, is presented at the annual AAFSC Scholarship and Diversity Award program. And before recognizing tonight's recipient of the Diversity Award, I'd like for us to take the time to remember the previous recipients and recognize those who were with us this evening. So please stand briefly when your name is called. Dr. Rebecca Lawson, Dr. Louis Venters, Ms. Angela Crossland, Dr. Rhonda Brogdon, Ms. Yvonne Davis, Ms. Crystal Graham, Dr. Will Waddles, Mr. Jason Owens, Dr. Ruth Whitman Price, Dr. Shana Wrighton, Dr. Erica James, Dr. Dan Browse, Ms. Latasha Brown. Now, let's show them our appreciation once again. Tonight's recipient came to Francis Marion in 2017. As a member of the faculty, he has gained the respect of many students and colleagues. Students have praised his ability to place attention on the importance of race and slavery as foundational issues in the Southeast. Faculty have applauded him for challenging students to grapple with unsettling and controversial issues. Two of his books, From the Trowels to the Trenches, Archaeology as Social Activism, The Archaeology of Race and Class at Timbuktu, a Black Community in New Jersey, have allowed students, scholars, and the general public to come to grips with the issue of race in American history. One of his nominators praised him for his diversity-related service to the university's Studying Slavery Project, a consortium of over 100 higher ed institutions that focus on creating educational projects that focus on human bondage and the legacies of racism. I'm pleased this evening to present the Coalition's Diversity Award to Dr. Christopher Barton.
Thank you, thank you. I know what probably y'all are thinking is we're gonna end this with some random white guy. But seriously, on behalf of all cisgen, hetero, white men, I'd like to thank this award for diversity. But on a serious note, thank you. I was asked to explain what diversity means to me. And unlike one of my freshmen, I didn't quick run to Webster's and try to define it. After reflection, I think diversity can be expressed in 3 words: understanding, collaboration, and kindness. We need to understand that we all come from different backgrounds with different experiences. This intersectionality informs us of how to navigate the world and how to interact with each other. When we interact with each other, we do so as equal partners in collaboration. Our individual and group experiences offer unique insights. In my field of archaeology, collaboration is critical as we investigate the past. as people offer perspectives and interpretation beyond those of us as a scholar. But people are not resources. They're not meant to be mined for our own intellectual pursuits, nor should collaboration be used simply to create a more holistic interpretation for our projects. Rather, we need to collaborate because it is the moral and ethically thing to do. The histories we explore, the data we collect in the present, are often not our own. We don't own them. We must collaborate as equal partners with people who are affected by our own work and our own research. We must treat each other and our individual contributions with respect and kindness. In a world where white supremacists openly march in public, where a presidential candidate mocks disabled people, and where 1 in 5 children in the United States face food insecurity, we must come together to fight against repression, to steer us from the current course that we find ourselves crashing towards. We must understand that what makes us strong is our diversity, our uniqueness. What makes us strong is also our shared vision for a better destination along this course, for a brighter, more humane future. We must collaborate and combine our experiences in an insurmountable force for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. As we progress forward, we must treat each other with respect and kindness that we wish for ourselves and for our families. As Dr. Martin Luther King said, quote, "The surest way to be happy is to seek happiness for others," end quote. On a more personal note, as many of you know, this is my last semester at Francis Marion. The past year has been the hardest of my life. But the understanding, support, and sympathy I've received from all of you, Dr. Carter, Alyssa, Erica, Kylie, Linda, and Todd, has helped soften the sharpest edges of this year. As I leave, and you move on, please move forward with understanding in your minds, with your hands clasped together in collaboration, and with kindness in your hearts. Thank you.
Good evening. Madam Mayor, let me thank you for those fine remarks in the beginning. You represent the city so well, and you represent your alma mater even better. And I want you to know how proud we all are of what you are every single day and what you do. You're a class act. And Chris, I want to congratulate you on that award. It's richly deserved. I want to tell just a brief story about Chris. It's a good one. I can say it. There's an old cemetery out near the Freshwater Ecology Center that we've discovered and we're working on trying to better understand the cemetery and better understand its past. And we asked Chris and Erica to be involved in working on the cemetery. And I remember getting an email about a couple of months ago. It was one of those cold, rainy days in January. And it's an email from Chris that goes like this: Fred, I just don't think I can go out and work on the cemetery today. I was surprised by that because that's one of the few things Chris hasn't been able to tackle while he was at Francis Marion. Chris, thank you for all your work on behalf of our university and on behalf of our students. So, this is the 23rd gala. Always a time and occasion to celebrate faculty and staff, but most especially our students. It's also an opportunity to recognize once again the unique partnership that's formed between the coalition, our foundation, and the university in doing good things together. You know, over those 23 years, we've accomplished an amazing body of work, and I just want to talk about, just briefly, a few of those things. I want to talk about the endowed chair that we've created. I want to talk about the 7 endowed scholarships and the 5 flow-through scholarships. I want to pause for a second and remind you the difference between the endowed and the flow-through. The flow-through, we got to raise money for every year. The endowed is endowed. It's funded. We just draw the interest off that and give it to the students for scholarships. So every time we get an endowed scholarship, we set that in the shelf and say, that's a great trophy. That's producing revenue that will continue to educate our kids. Proud of those endowed scholarships. We've created a graduate fellowship. And we've created, largely to the hard work of our librarians, one of the finest African American literature collections in any public library in South Carolina. I am so proud of that. We've supported 8 professional development trips over the years for members of the coalition, which has allowed more than 250 coalition members to participate in professional development activities, not just across the state, but across the Southeast. But here's the most amazing thing. Over the years, together, we have spent $893,884 funding 246 student scholarships. But as you guys know, I'm far less interested in what we did yesterday than what we'll do tomorrow. So here's what comes next. So this summer, another professional development trip back to Charleston. And I'll tell you why we're going back there. Those of you who went last year to visit the International African American Museum and other sites down there came back and told all your other friends in the coalition, and I was inundated by folks who said, didn't get to go last year, we're going to be able to go next year. And the answer to that is yes. We'll take another trip back there next year because I want members of the coalition who have not had the opportunity to visit that museum to go back down there this year and go. And let me say this, and I'm going to say this with some caution, okay? If you went last year, you can't go this year unless there are extra spaces on the bus. So you can't fool with people to make sure there are extra spaces on the bus, but if there are extra spaces, you can go. A couple of more things. This coming year, we'll fund yet another YGB fellowship, scholarship, okay? Listen, I've got to do that just to keep Donald out of my office. I think all of you understand the way that works. We're going to do 2 more things this year. I'm delighted that the Wilson family is with us tonight, and I want to tell you how much we appreciated all the work Frida did in establishing one of the finest speech-language pathology programs in the country. And I would be remiss if I didn't stop for a second and thank Frances for all the work she did building on the foundation that Frida created. They've been a marvelous team working together, just a marvelous team. You know, I remember in those early days trying to establish this program. Many of you have heard this story. I wanted to do a program long ago because we had difficulty getting Luke in to see a speech pathologist when he developed a speech impediment. And he was about to start the first grade, developed a slight speech impediment, and everybody in this room knows the fear associated with your child being made fun of when he starts the first grade and he's just stumbling with his speech. So we found it took months to schedule an appointment. Man, that just doesn't seem right. So we decided to start our own program. And I had enormous trepidation about that program. Didn't know much about speech pathology. But man, the first time I met Frida, those concerns went away. Because I had sitting in my office somebody who knew an awful lot about speech pathology and somebody who knew an awful lot about dealing with frightened presidents. Okay? So I'm here to tell you that one of the things we will do this year, I will ask the Board of Trustees at its meeting in June to name our new speech language pathology clinic after Frida. A couple of other things very briefly. So, in discussing this with Lauren, we think we can do another, the university and the foundation can do another endowed coalition scholarship for this year. Now, you know, our proclivity is to name those scholarships after members of the coalition who have worked so hard to make the coalition successful. And there's one young man sitting in this room tonight that has done so superbly in bringing our staff and faculty together around issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Might not be able to say those words in Columbia, but I damn well can say them in Florence. So the person I want to recognize tonight is quiet, he's studious, but he's the kind of man that when he speaks, you shut up and listen because he has something to say. We're going to name that our next endowed scholarship after Bashan Brown. Unfortunately, Sean's been promoted up through the IT hierarchy, so he doesn't sit in my office and talk to me at length anymore as he's working on my computer. But I know he's doing great things wherever he is. Finally, let me conclude tonight by doing just one other thing. Those of you that have scholarship, have been or are coalition scholarship recipients at FMU. Would you stand up, please? Stand up. Stay standing just for a second. Stay standing just for a second. I want everybody in this room to turn around and look at these faces. Look at these faces. If you ever wonder what it is we're doing and why we're doing it, it's right there. Thank you.
It's always so hard to come after that. You get us every time, Dr. Carter. Friends, thank y'all for coming out and spending time with us this evening. That what we did here tonight, if you have not realized that yet, it really matters. That we have dedicated this evening to discussing how we want to invest into the future of our communities, into the futures of our societies, so that we can be that equitable society where we are all committed and invested into each other's lives and into each other's successes. And tonight you may have noticed as we were outside indulging in the wonderful meal that was prepared for us, some very young people running around the room. And as a parent of one of those very young people running around the room, I want to say thank you. Thank you for showing them what it looks like when a community comes together to care for one another. Because it takes all of us to make Francis Marion the wonderful place that it is. Whether we're talking about our faculty that are giving formal instruction, or our staff and administration that keep the institution running, to our grounds people that create and maintain what I would say is the most beautiful campus in our state, or to our custodial teams that make sure that our students are able to live and learn in spaces that are safe and inviting. It takes all of us. It takes all of us coming together, also on nights like tonight, where we remember the commitments that we have made to these young people. And that whenever many of them walk across that stage here in just a couple of weeks, it'll be because of you, your commitment to be here for these events every single year. So when we see them walk across that stage in May, empowered with a quality education that they could only get here, it's thanks to you. Thank you for making commitments to our young people. And so with that, I will say please have a great evening, and I will see everyone here next year. Thank you.